entertainment podcasts, but one of the ones that I do like to listen to is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah. With Rob McElhenney.
Yeah.
Everybody, welcome to Everything Teams Phone Live. Today we're streaming right from vNext in Denver, Colorado. Brandon, this is your hometown.
This is my hometown. I was noticing the monitor,
Yeah.
and it just switched to me, but I was enjoying seeing you in person and on a screen. But yes, this is my hometown. Our second annual visit to vNext, an amazing community-driven show. Lots of great partners here as well. Lots of great attendees, of very good social networking and really good technical content for people who really want to know more about specifically the Microsoft ecosystem.
Speaking of good attendees or smart attendees, we have a guest today. Now, you may have seen him a couple of times on Everything Teams Phone Live. He's joining us live from, is it Dallas-Fort Worth?
It is.
Dallas-Fort Worth area. Everyone welcome Jason Waite.
Thank you. Yeah, I am attendee class this year. Maybe next year we'll escalate and I'll be part of the speaker cadre.
Well, so
that's a speaker.
Speaking of Microsoft, we're actually doing a panel tomorrow at 1 p.m. So if you're listening, you're here in Denver, you care to join the event, Rick and I will be on a stage tomorrow at 1 p.m. talking about, can Microsoft Teams Phone do that?
Oh.
And one of the reasons that we brought Jason in, speaking of Microsoft, he's employed with Microsoft. He knows
Indeed.
the Microsoft ecosystem really well. So we decided, let's bring Jason to Denver and let's put him on a panel on the stage with us. So he didn't know he was getting looped into this podcast till literally, 3 minutes ago?
No, I was like 7 minutes ago.
It's
Don't be ridiculous.
Plenty of time, plenty of prep time. I was able to do a ton of homework.
Right.
I'm aware of all of the recent. I'm struggling to keep up just like anybody else, frankly. This is a wild ride. So
I'll tell you what this is such a show surrounding just learning. How about the Loop presentation this morning? The Loop presentation, the demo was fantastic. I mean, I look at that and go, project management, product management, anything that you need teams to collaborate on or with, and in a sort of omni-channel sort of a way, it's fantastic.
Well, if you think about it, previously you had the option to pin spreadsheets and pin other documents, even OneNote notebooks at the top of your channels and your chats and all that, but that's still pretty disjointed. I feel like this Loop component ecosystem kind of ties everything together.
Well, and then you power it with some Copilot. I mean,
Sure,
you power it with Copilot, and it just becomes this different, sort of productivity massive tool now.
When it's the first collaborative application of Copilot, all these Copilot functionality segments that we talk about are individual centric. What work do I want to get done? I want to catch up on my email. I want to summarize my meeting so I can do work. Loop is finally a collaborative application. You can see what Brandon is thinking about and what he's trying to do. He's having his co-pilot, add all these different products and these go-to-market strategies and ideas, and then you can go in there and you can see that, and you can be like, okay, add a column for this stuff I've been working on recently, and have that expanded, and you just get this nice little map of what everyone's doing in that component with Copilot.
Yeah, and what I liked about, I think it was one of the Loop guys that was on stage when he was talking about the product, he was kind of summing it up, and at the end he said, one way to look at Loop is it's not just a collaboration tool for all of us to use. It's kind of sits in the center of all the other Microsoft components, whether it's Planner, whether it's to-do things, or Microsoft Teams, or Outlook, or SharePoint, or a Word document, and it's the aggregator that brings it all into kind of this single pane of glass, where you can then work out of those things right within Loop. And see, now I can see not only are you updating a task or something, you've maybe also updated a document.
I think my favorite thing I saw was literally when everybody's on a call, you always wonder who's taking copious notes, right? Who's taking the notes?
Not me.
Well, and nowadays it's Copilot, right? But you have different components that you want to add to it, right? So you have different components. So it's nice to have the notes automatically created if you want them by Copilot, or have people contribute to the content, right?
Collaborative notes are still there. They're all blended together in one place, which makes it a great experience.
And on the demo, what was really cool about it is Copilot is actively taking those notes.
Right. You can see.
At the same time that maybe I'm taking a note, and you can see both Copilot and me as a human both adding notes in real time as whatever the session or the meeting is that's progressing.
So what are we talking about here? We're talking about the greater Microsoft ecosystem, right? And I want to bring it back to everything Teams Phone, right? And come back to, we deliver phone systems in Microsoft Teams, and it's interesting because, again, we kind of sell the dream when we're selling this stuff, right? And we talk about all the different ecosystem components that organizations could take advantage of. And again, it's just Microsoft layering on another tool and another tool and another tool that drives productivity. And at some point you think people are going to go, but it's impossible for them to take in everything and work the way Microsoft would want you to work in all the tools. But it's so nice because it is an ecosystem that you can just kind of layer on. Here, start with Teams Phone as your basic, and then add, if it's Copilot, or add, automation tools with Power Automate. There's a couple of new features that have come out, Jason. All right, there's the
Recap for phone. Is that what
there's Recap for phone. There's the Q app. My favorite.
The Qs app.
The Qs app. That's going to be very cool. And my favorite right now is Click to Call. I think it's so underestimated how Click to Call can be used, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But when you start to put together this ecosystem, you start to put together a complete omni-channel solution that is clean, simple. Everybody knows how to operate in it. It's fantastic.
The hardest part is getting folks to shift that mindset, right? From having dedicated telephony infrastructure, applications, touch points, et cetera, to, hey, now the power of the Teams platform is available at your fingertips. And by the way, calls they're just a detail in that platform.
And I think, speaking of this event, Comms vNext, I think this is a great place for people to come and, start to be influenced in the way that they're shifting their thinking around the team, the collaboration environment, the phone system. And I think like our session tomorrow, Rick, that's really what we're going to be driving at is, people might think, we already know what Teams Phone can do, but I think when you take a step back and you look at the entire ecosystem, like your Click to Call, your Qs app, these other ancillary things that you can bolt on, Teams Phone can do so much more than I think the average person realizes.
Well, I was just in a session going over shared calling, and you've got literally Microsoft certified individuals that run global organizations, right? From a Teams Phone perspective. And they're in there asking a lot of questions about shared calling. So my point there is, this is a real education sort of effort to teach people what is possible in Teams Phone, because even the certified guys that run global organizations don't know all the details. Right. So you come here to suck up the information and learn.
Well, and people often assume I have these inside tracks and I can get this information faster than anybody else or before anybody else sometimes. Again, I'm working right alongside all of you to keep up with this stuff. The 5.9s announcement, right? Not to confuse that with the vendor 5.9, but the SLA reliability scoring of 5.9s for Teams Phone. That is enormous, and so that helps us to convey that story, right? Let's bring unified communications and telephony into the pane of glass that's Teams and not lose reliability, and shift the way we think about it, and add automation, and add the partner services like you guys offer with eFax, with SMS. Like it's such an opportunity to fold all these elements into an experience that, frankly, users can actually engage meaningfully and leverage. So I love it. This is a great way to keep up.
Yeah. What do you think? What's your favorite new thing coming out, Brandon?
Well, that I'm working on, I think I have to agree with you, right, is this, from a Microsoft perspective, it's the click to call, right? Creating another channel for whether we productize it, whether we're using it for our own good or however we decide to use it, but opening the omni-channel to a regular phone system to allow customer engagement through front door access. So I go to a website and not just click to call, click to chat. There's
Video.
there's this whole ACS, Azure Communication Services ecosystem that is largely untapped.
Well, think about this. The way you're like kind of leaning into it here for chat, but let's take what the experience could be like. Let me give you a visual here, right? If you think about just basic click to call, and you go, okay, I'm going to have a Teams logo on there, and I'm going to click on here, and I get in touch with an auto attendant or a call queue or an individual, something like that, right? But reimagine what the engagement should look like on a website. Okay, so if I'm an auto dealer, as an example, and I'm on a page that's all trucks. Okay, so I've got, I'm shopping for a truck. And if you could imagine the widget not being the standard little widget that sits at the bottom of the window for chat, if you could imagine that widget, coming up at a certain point in time, maybe it's a 5-second delay, a 10-second delay on your website, because that's not in Microsoft Teams. That's a configuration of what a service provider or an ISV like us, as an example, would deliver, right? So that experience. So let's say that comes up right when you're shopping for trucks.
Yeah.
And it says, I've got 5 people available that can talk to you about these trucks right here. That's a different experience. What if you had a bank branch, and you had a visual of what that branch looked like? And you could walk into that branch online and say, I've got my loan department, I've got my front desk, I've got my whatever other department, and start to engage as if I'm there. Almost like this, not alt reality, but kind of this metaverse, if you will, right? Where you're communicating visually.
Well, and there's a pick your own poison element to it as well, right? Not only can you speak with these 5 people in some way, whatever channel you prefer, meeting people where they are will actually get them to do that, right? Hey, you want to have a text message link sent to you that starts basically jumps you into a Teams meeting with WebRTC. Like, you can do that. You can start a session right here on the website. You can do all these different channels now bubbled up in the enterprise through Teams. We can meet people where they are, however they're accessing these services, and that's the other side of the coin that I think was neglected for a long time that now we're paying a lot of attention to.
Yeah, and I think with the right kind of enablement, the right kind of service pairing, if you will, I start to wonder how disruptive is that going to be to the contact center space when lots of companies start to realize I don't actually need to take down this ancillary product to solve my business case now when my business collaboration, I hate to call it my business phone system because it's now a full collaboration system.
Platform, yeah.
But now when it can do it in kind of a turnkey fashion.
Yeah.
And that's what, back to your question, Rick, what's the most exciting thing I'm working on? It's probably from a Microsoft perspective, probably the whole front door entry services like click to call. Yeah. And then obviously tomorrow we might sprinkle in a little announcement about a very proprietary fax solution that we're coming up with.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm excited about that.
Yes.
I think
stay tuned.
It's one of those ancillary services that Microsoft doesn't really do anything for. I mean,